Good evening, Trump family. Welcome to Open Source News. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on that notifications bell so you don't miss a thing. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news. What's up, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and we have Twitter files from both Friday and early morning today, Christmas Eve, day after Christmas. I want to start with the ones from today because they are particularly enraging, including, we've known that these files existed. We knew that we were going to get the CU files, the Fauci files. We knew that this was going to happen. But this is so much worse than many people even expected. Shiva Toshi Nakamoto, saying, if this doesn't make you mad, you've been so successfully brainwashed that you can't even see clearly with all the hindsight knowledge we now have. And that is sad. The scientific process doesn't work if discussion, counter-arguments, and debate are silenced. This is a Twitter files report from David ZX Week, and he's written for New York Magazine, Wire, The Atlantic. Not sure where he's at right now. But the Twitter files, quote, part, whatever, how Twitter rigged the cuff debate by censoring information that was true, but inconvenient to U.S. government policy, by discrediting doctors and other experts who disagreed, by suppressing ordinary users, including some sharing the CDC's own data. Don't forget about the three-letter agencies. We're going to talk about that today too, because that got even worse, but it just feels like so many bombshells, it's insane. So far, the tour files are focused on evidence of Twitter's secret blacklists, how the company functioned as a sort of subsidiary for the FBI, and how executives rewrote the platform's rules to accommodate their own political desires. What we have yet to cover is the cuff. This reporting for the free press. Okay, so it's for this free press. Okay. Is that Bari Weiss, his company? I don't know. I don't remember. I think maybe it is, anyway, is one piece to that importance. I know Elon has already said that. There's more coming. The United States government pressure Twitter and other social media platforms to elevate certain content and suppress other content. About the cuff internal files of Twitter that I have viewed while being on assignment for the free press showed that both Trump and Biden administrations directly press the Twitter executives to moderate the platform's locked-down content according to their wishes. At the onset of the co-op, according to meeting notes, the Trump administration was especially concerned about panic buying. They came looking for help from tech companies to combat, quote, misinformation about runs on grocery stores. But there were runs on grocery stores. This neither administration looks good with today's files, to be honest with you. You can see the Trump White House, specifically Michael Kratz, only scratched Soysal lead the Trump administration's calls for help from tech companies to combat misinformation. Areas of focus included, cell towers, runs on grocery stores, misinformation that could stoke panic buying. Well, remember buying toilet paper. Remember, you don't remember getting antibacterials, remember getting cleaning supplies, remember getting dry goods. Wasn't just Twitter. The meetings with the Trump White House were also attended by Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and others. So let's stop pretending that this is just the Twitter files, because what's being what's being exposed here. Okay. Twitter, alongside several other high-tech companies, including Google, Facebook, Microsoft, participated. Activities included standing weekly call to share general trends and hosting a shared Microsoft Teams group. Some of the companies, not Twitter, gathered open source information from researchers. Our team said this information to the Twitter policy enforcement teams when the Biden administration took over. One of the first meeting requests with Twitter executives was on the cuff. The focus was on anti-poker accounts, particularly again, we're talking about a new United States citizen, I believe, right? Alex Berenson. Biden. One of the first meeting requests from the Biden White House was about cuff misinformation per regular process. Public policy took the meeting. Biden staffer focused on the high-profile anti-poker accounts, including Alex Berenson. In the summer of 2021, President Biden said that social media companies were ending people for allowing this type of misinformation. Berenson was suspended hours after Biden's comments and kicked off the platform the following month. Berenson, of course, sued and eventually settled with Twitter. In the legal process, Twitter was compelled to release certain internal communications, which showed direct White House pressure on the companies to take action on one particular citizen. Overall, pretty good. They have one really tough question about why Alex Berenson hasn't been kicked off the platform. Otherwise, their questions were pretty pointed. In December 2022 summary of meetings with the White House by Lauren Culbertson, Twitter's head of public policy adds new evidence of the White House pressure campaign, and cements that it repeatedly attempted to directly influence a platform. Culbertson wrote that the Biden team was, quote, very angry that Twitter had not been more aggressive in deplatforming multiple accounts. They wanted Twitter to do more. Kudos executives did not fully capitulate to the Biden team wishes. An extensive review of internal communications at the company revealed employees often debating moderation cases in great detail, and with more than what was shown by the government towards free speech, but Twitter did suppress views, many of them from doctors and scientific experts that conflicted with the official positions of the White House and our Constitution, by the way. As a result, legitimate findings and questions that would have expanded the public debate went missing. Boy, all this stuff that we know now, people made whatever choice they want to do with their own bodies. When I say like your body, like I'm legitimately your body, your choice. If you got it, I've talked at length about family members who are high risk that got it. I never looked down on them for that. I never, but like, oh boy. There are a couple of documentaries that will come out about this. In the next few years, once we actually have real data on stuff. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. There were 3 serious problems with Twitter's process. First, much of the content moderation was conducted by bots trained on machine learning AI, impressive in their engineering yet too crude for such nuance to work. Contractors. Secondly, contractors in places like the Philippines also moderated content. They were given decision trees to aid in the process but tasking non-experts to adjudicate tweets on complex topics like heart conditions, and mask efficacy data was destined for significant error rate. Their third and most importantly, the buck stopped with higher-level employees at Twitter who chose the inputs for the bots and decision trees and subjectively decided escalated cases and suspensions. As it was with all people and institutions, there was an individual and of course collective bias with a cuff. The bias went heavily towards establishment dogmas. Inevitably, dissident yet legitimate content was labeled as misinformation. And the accounts of doctors and others were suspended, both for tweeting opinions and demonstrably true information. This is like, if yesterday wasn't Christmas. This is pretty enraging. I mean, we knew it, right? We knew it. We watched it happen in real time. Now we have proof. Exhibit A. Dr. Martin Cold Door, an epidemiologist at Harvard Medical School, tweeted views at odds with public health authorities. And the American left the political affiliation of nearly the entire staff of Twitter, writing, "No, thinking that everyone must be poked is as scientifically flawed as thinking that nobody should. The poke are important for older high-risk people and their caretakers. Those with prior natural infections don't need it, nor children. I mean, we know this now, right? This is like a generally accepted fact." Internal emails show an intent to action by a moderator saying that Coulter's tweet violated the company's misinformation policy and claimed he shared, quote, false information. He's a doctor. That's not following the science. But our statement was an expert's opinion. One which also happened to be in line with the poke policies in numerous other countries. It was deemed as false information by Twitter moderators merely because it differed from CDC guidelines. After Twitter took action, Colorsuit was slapped with a misleading label. All the replies and lectures shut off, throttling the tweet's ability to be seen by and shared by multiple people, the sensible core function of the platform. In my review of internal files, I found countless instances of tweets labeled as misleading or taken down entirely, sometimes triggering account suspensions simply because they veered from the CDC guidance, or differed from establishment views. A tweet by Kelly KGA, a self-proclaimed public health fact-checker with 18,000 followers, was also flagged as misleading, and replies and likes disabled even though it displayed the CDC's own data. Wow. I wonder why. Internal record showed that a bot had flagged the tweet and then it received many, quote, tattles, what a system amusingly calls reports from users, that triggered a manual review by a human who, despite the tweet showing actual CDC data, labeled it misleading anyway. I wonder if that person was a doctor. Tellingly, The tweet by Kelly KJ was labeled and replies to the tweet that contain actual was a reply to a tweet I'm sorry. Tellingly, the tweet by Kelly KJ was labeled misleading was actually replied to tweets that contain actual misinformation. Whether by human or algorithm content was contrarian but true was still getting flamed and suppressed. This was labeled as misleading even though the owner of the account is a physician, and was referring to results of a literal published study. Oopsie Andrew Boston, a Rhode Island physician, was permanently suspended from Twitter after receiving multiple strikes from his information. One of his strikes was for a tweet referring to the results from a literal peer-reviewed study on an RNA hoax. Review of Twitter logs revealed that an internal audit conducted after Boston's attorney contacted Twitter found that only one of Boston's 5 violations were even valid. Because you had these leftist propagandists working inside of Twitter, and anytime it came down to somebody making a decision, they were just getting in line with what the government wanted. People's lives were likely lost because of this. That's just the truth. He goes through some of these other tweets, which I'll let you go through to see. Another example of human bias run amok was when the reaction to the tweet by Trump, many Trump tweets led to extensive internal debates. This one was no different. He wrote, "I'll be leaving the great Walter Reed at 630 day feeling good, don't be afraid. Don't let it dominate your life. We have developed under the Trump administration some really great treatments and knowledge. I feel better than I did 20 years ago." In a surreal exchange, Jim Baker, remember him? At the time of tours, Deputy General Counsel asked why telling people to not be afraid wasn't a violation. He was like, "Hey, how come this isn't a violation? By the way, is that this guy's job?" You'll Rock Twitter's former head of trust safety had to explain that optimism wasn't actually misinformation. Remember member Kate Kelly KGA with the CDC data? Twitter's response to her is clarifying, quote, "We will prioritize review and labeling of content that could lead to increased exposure or transmission." Twitter made a decision by the political leanings of senior staff and government pressure that the public health authorities' approach to things prioritizing mitigation or other concerns was, quote, "The science what might be, what might this the coup and its aftermath have looked like if there had been more open debate on Twitter and other social media platforms, not to mention Main Street press, about the origins of the co-op, about lockdowns, about the true risks of it in kids. I mean, how many of these kids you see outside still wearing masks by themselves playing outside? You don't think that that's having some mental effect on them?" Alright, thanks for being here folks. Please receive a big hug from all of us. Let me know down below if you like these updates. Thank you very much. God bless America.